Okay, it's next morning. It's Sunday the 14th of the 5th, 2017. Okay, this is fixed. All I did was I sprayed penetrating oil, everywhere, around the numbers, around this disc here, and just sprayed it all around a good amount, and I'll just demonstrate that it works now. Never throw out your old stuff. As I said yesterday, I think this is the cable, the lower speedo cable, and it's all twisted around there. Looks like it could have been abused. It could have gone too fast and twisted around, but I'm not really sure. How can you be? However, I've kept this, and the other side's good, and that's it there in the screw gun, and that's sat in where was it now? Yeah, I just pulled this out and I cut it off, put it in the screw gun, and if you put the screw gun in reverse, it won't work. Once you put it forward, I think, then it'll work. Okay, I've got the screw gun come around to the back of the speedo. There's that mounting just there, so that goes in there, and just get in there properly, and there you see it'll work. Just keep an eye on the 4, that'll click over to 5. The far right hand side's on 9, so it's ready to click over. With my logbook, I was doing my logbook, my car logbook, and I noticed every time I went to fill in the kilometres, it was all the same. So, the odometer wasn't working, so now it is, and that's just a bit of WD-40, and she's all good, set to go. Okay, the clock's still ticking away, so that's really great. I apologise for the quality of my videos, the resolution I mean. I'm trying to get a mobile phone working so that I can take pictures on a mobile phone and stitch them together and upload them. So I'm working on it. Okay, I've just found another bulb. It's in the middle of the dash, just here, and you can probably see it in there. So I'll get that out and change it out. If you got the dash apart like this, now would be an excellent opportunity to change all of the globes. So this is a wedge type globe. So yeah, that's it there. 12 volt. Actually, it's a T 10mm, so it reads 12 volt, 3 watt, T 10mm wedge. Okay, so that piece of plastic just goes on there, and this piece of foam just sits over the top. And that's how it was. Okay, this is the last video I'll be making with this camera because unfortunately the software is outdated. It's a 2008 camera, and it doesn't work on any system anymore, at least not on anything I've got. It's gradually been breaking down, and I've been getting cameras the same, but as they come along they're no longer working. This one was, but now this one's not going to work could be very low resolution video, but hopefully it uploads okay, because there's some pretty good information on this video. With the speedo, you've got one small stubby screw at the top there, one screw, long standard screw, the same as the others, on the bottom, and nothing there. I was able to find that out from one of the previous clips on this video, so it always pays to document your work. It's important what screws you put where, because with the front setup, the covers, they often use and tie different parts of the dashboard in together. So you probably want to write down on a piece of paper the size and type and where the screw came from. Okay, while I'm here, I'll just remove the oil pressure and temperature gauge, and put some lubricating oil inside and reassemble it. These screws are different sizes, so this one's actually a little bit longer than this one, and I've got that labelled as bottom, so top and bottom. Okay, so that should just come out of there. Okay, there's actually a third mount, and it's just up under there. Okay, the oil pressure, let's see what the story is there. Okay, so you can see there that there's actually a copper, you might be able to see the copper tube there, and that screws in at the back of the oil pressure. And yeah, that's incredible. I haven't seen, in the work I've done on this car, I haven't seen any copper tube that would lead to this oil pressure gauge. So I suppose it comes up through the firewall. So what I'll do is I'll tape all this off and I'll give that a spray, because as you might be able to see there's a lot of mechanical components there. Okay, so give it a spray. Try and situate the can around there. Okay, the temperature gauge. With the oil pressure gauge, you'll need to have the volts gauge removed, and that's the best way to get that screw in, back in, up under there. Yeah, it's the same with the temperature gauge. You'll have to have the clock removed, so just remove these two on the left hand side to be able to access the ones on the right. So temperature gauge, and it's got a 3 connection system. So I'm going to assume that's positive, negative and ground. So I'll just spray around the tips here, the connections. Okay, so that work's done. That light that I thought was a spare light, there's 2 small holes along the top there. So that's the holes there, and it'll be a type of blue light. Actually, I got the feeling it could be when the high beam's on. So, but that globe's not working, unfortunately. And those 2 holes are in the speedo odometer gauge there. I'll tell you what, this brings back some memories. When I was a kid, if I was in a 1970s car, put the high beams on, and you'd see 2 blue lights. So the high beams here down on the floor, and Yeah, that's incredible. That works great. Okay, so this is the lights. So you've got parking lights, and then high beams down there on the floor. Also, when this is pushed in, I think, you turn it to the left, and that'll bring on the interior light. There's only one globe working at the moment, I think. But this is sometimes doesn't seem to be 100% connection, so I'm going to attempt to remove it and clean it. So if you unscrew that anti-clockwise, you can remove it, but how you get the this controlling knob off, I don't know. So I think my only option is to just spray a bit of penetrating oil down there. Okay, that's seems to have done the that transistor in there, or the regulator, a fair amount of good. If I turn it clockwise, you can see the lights on the dash dim. If I turn it, it sort of stops there. If I turn it anti-clockwise from that point, the interior light comes on. However, a word of warning, when you spray the oil down there, don't use it for about 5-10 minutes. There was a little bit of shorting there while the oil was wet, so it does act as a type of conductor when you've just sprayed it on the component. Okay, the washer wiper. I just want to check that there isn't a light behind there that I might be able to replace, and just make sure it's all good. So it's just a Phillips head screw there and there. I don't know why they designed something that you can pull it out only so far, but you can't actually work on it. Like, there is a globe there, might be able to see it just there, but I'd have to place a lot of strain on it to get it out. I'm able to get it out so far, and there is a globe connection there, so I'll try a bit more. Okay, so it will work, but it's not reliable. Seems to be a bad connection there, so I'll see what I can do. Yeah, so it doesn't actually light up, only the writing you can see. You might be able to see the wash wipe glow there a little bit. Just one thing, if you clean the face of the fuel gauge and you bump the needle to there, say, it resets itself by itself. Yeah, there's tons and tons of globes. There's actually 2 there and 2 here. So this is the 4-wheel lock. It says there, 4-wheel lock, and on the right hand side is the oil. And so the oil gauge I don't think is working, but I've got an actual working oil pressure gauge there, so there's probably no need for it. I'd say that this dashboard would maybe be universal and would go on other trucks and maybe even cars. Maybe not cars because of the oil pressure gauge. Anyway, then a piece of foam just sits over that. And this one seems to be seat belts and something else. Yeah, so there's 11 globes. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 behind the dash, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the indicators 10, 11. Yeah, the one here on the right is brake warning light, and this one's fasten seat belts. Okay, so that oil pressure, there's an oil pressure gauge there, and there's an oil pressure light. If we come down and underneath So there's the oil filler. That's the oil pressure line, just there, and that's that copper tube we saw. So I don't think they'd have two oil pressure gauges. I think that oil pressure light would be redundant. Okay, so that's the fuses, spare fuses you'll have to carry with a truck like this. It's built in 1977. It's a C20 Chevrolet truck, and the fuse box has got 3 times 20 amp, 3 times 15 amp, 2, I think it's 4 amp, I'm not sure. It's the spiral, the different shaped fuse, and 125 amp. It's not the modern type. Might be able to give you an idea. That's the old 1970s style. That's them there, the glass cylinders, and they've got silver tops, silver bottoms, and they just slot into that void there. That's the fuse box there. That one below, that one just there, that's that 4 amp, the smaller one there. It's just got a piece of sort of twisted metal through the middle. It's very low voltage, whereas the other ones have got thicker metal running through. The seat belt, that's that one there. These seat belts clearly don't have any system where they can have the voltage pass through them to see whether or not they're on or not. There's no wires or anything, it's just material behind. The brake would be super handy to have, but at this stage I've got no way of knowing where the sensor is for the brake. That's the brake there. You apply the brake with your foot and you take it off with this lever by pulling it out. But I can't find any sort of sensor up under there. The oil pressure is good. We've got a oil pressure gauge and 4-wheel drive. This isn't a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Okay, just this should pop out. That's just the fuel gauge, and I want to check to see if the brake light's working. So just take that off. Get that globe out there and test it. Yeah, so that brake light globe was working, and I'll put that down on the list as one of the things to get going. Okay, so I've got some glass cleaner, and that's the clear perspex cover, and I've got some very soft material, and apparently you're supposed to use a specific very soft cloth, but you know, I think this will do. So give it a good clean anyway. Okay, so that's the finished product. Okay, so that's it, all the work's done. There's nothing on the list still to do, so I started off being an odometer video, but I've had to check out a lot of other gauges while I'm at it, and I'm glad I did. When you put this Perspex cover on, just remember that the clock's got a bit sticking out so that you can pull it out and adjust it. So just put that in first, get the bottom sticking down underneath this metal bit, and just be careful to guide it on the pins as you go, and should be good.